Hey guys, today you're going to be taking your reading and writing Telpas test. I'm going to go over some quick tips before you take it so that you know what to expect. Overall, our writing scores were probably the lowest, so I'm going to be a little hard on you and make sure that you know exactly how to answer these. This is the first one that you might see, and it's a BME, or you're just going to finish a story. So they might give you a picture, and then you have to write the story and finish it out, beginning, middle, and end, BME. So you can use that graphic organizer to help plan, but really what you're going to do is make sure that you answer the prompt completely. So it says, look at the picture. It shows something happening in the middle of the story. Use the picture to write the beginning, middle, and end of the story. Then it has all of these dots down here. Now, those dots are probably the most important part. So I've been telling all students to answer the dots. Answer every single dot with at least one sentence, if not two. So if I just answer the dots, that's 4 sentences. However, that may not be enough to convince them that you really do know English well. So our goal is to always write 10 sentences on every time that they bring up a writing one, which most of the time it's only 4 big writing prompts. And it's one of these types and then the expository and all the other types. But I need you to write 10 sentences every time. Don't get lazy. We want you to get out of Telpas. We want you to keep moving on. But if you don't write enough, then they can't tell that you know it, and they put you back at beginner, especially if you only write 1 or 2 sentences. So you have to write 1 sentence per dot, if not 2. Then we're going to do the same thing that we did with our speaking, and we're going to make it personal, and you're going to tell me about a time that this involved you. So if I'm talking about this little boy that fell off his bike and scraped his knee and had to go to the hospital, I might talk about a time that I was at the hospital, or when my little sister fell off her bike. So I'm going to finish out the 10 sentences with something personal. So our mantra through this whole thing is answer the dots, make it personal. And you have to write 10 sentences every time, no matter what. Answer the dots, make it personal. Okay, so here's another one. That this could be something else that you pull up. How many dots are there? 4. Write the beginning of the story. Explain the girl and who she is. That should be at least 2 sentences. Remember that we need to use names that sound like a native speaker. So we wouldn't use Maria, we would use Sarah or Jane or some other name that would make you think of a native speaker. So who she is and what she's doing. Write the middle of the story. Write what happens next and how the girl feels. Write the end of the story after the picture, and then you're going to make it personal. If you don't have 10 sentences after you answer all the dots, make it personal. Okay? The next one, they're going to ask you to tell a story, something that's happened to you, something surprising or shocking. You can use this graphic organizer about it. Sometimes these don't have dots. So you still have to read and really look at the prompt and ask what is it trying to get you to do, and then you answer the question and make it personal. That's it. But the big one with this is when you're telling a story is that you're using it in past tense. I went, not I wented, I went to the store. I was. Make sure that the verbs that you're using are all in past tense. And there's another one. Now, this is another type of story. This is the how-to story. Again, there's 4 dots. You should answer all 4 dots, then make it personal. Now, what I do like about this is that it gives you some sentence stems. So right now, one thing to do would be to pause this video and go over some of the sentence stems, because you can pretty much use those anywhere. But restate the question, and then, so all of those dots, all you have to do is restate them. Restate them and answer it. Restate them and answer it, and that's 4. Then make it personal, okay? So, who would help you with the garden? You could make 2 or 3 sentences out of that, and why you would choose them. That's something else, is if you want to answer the dot and why, that's going to be 2 sentences every single time. So if I answer the dot, who would I choose and why? Where would the garden be located and why? What tools do you think you would need and why? How do you decide the vegetables are shared equally and why? If you answer why every single time, that's another question, or that's another sentence. And then really, that should be 8 sentences. The tools that we would need are, that's a really easy, good sentence. Make sure that if you are using smaller words like big, that you're looking at it. If you can think of a better word instead of big, we might use enormous, or instead of small, we might use tiny. Words that would really show that you do know English well. There's another one. Imagine that you win $1 million. What would you do? And last, there's these academic or responding. Sorry, guys. You're going to use this graphic. Again, we've got dots. So answer the dots and why. Describe the graph. Why did they make it? So if you see the graphic organizer there, the graph is, the graph shows, the graph was probably created by, my favorite sport. So what they did is they answered the dots within that, and then they made it personal by adding their favorite sport. So answer all of those dots and why every single time, and give me 10 sentences. Does not matter if it's a graph or if it's an expository or whatever type. You have to give me 10 sentences to make sure that they get enough to judge. Here's another one. Again, they used the same thing. The graph is, the graph shows, the graph probably was created by, and my favorite snack. So they answered the dots and then they made it personal. Now, after that, you're going to have your editing. So the biggest thing with this is that you ask yourself, does it sound right? If you're not sure, plug in all the answer choices until it does sound right to you. And they've made these to make it tricky so that Spanish speakers and speakers that were non-English, to begin with, it is hard. Okay, so we got to make sure that there's subject-verb agreement, that those things sound right, that the pronouns are right, and the verb tense is right. So this is a sentence rewrite. It says, read the text. 1 or more errors, rewrite and complete the text to make sure that the text is correct. Why the towel did not get wet. So the first thing, does that sound correct? No, it doesn't. So how would you fix it? And then in this type of editing, you would either fix the error or you would write the whole sentence again. In this one, it says rewrite the complete text. So there's a couple of different ways that we could fix that. Right? So we can ask who or what the subject was. Why the towel did not get wet. Here are some answers. Why did the towel not get wet, and why didn't the towel not get wet? These are not set in stone. You just have to make it sound native. Make it sound like you are a person that's been speaking English their whole life. So you can choose a couple of different ways to do it, but here's another one. One of the rule of school is to respect the others. So when I ask myself, who was it? It's the rules. So does that sound right to you? The rule of school, is there only one? Nope. There's a couple of ways to fix it. One of the rules in school is to respect others. One of the rules in schools is to respect others. So there's other ways to do that, but you're just going to make it sound right and then rewrite it. I'm going to let it load a little bit. There we go. Another way to rewrite. So can you find what's wrong with this? You can pause the video and you'll find out what's wrong with it. And how would you fix this? Here's what they said. Many of the students in the students' favorite class is world history. Now, a lot of these problems do come in with apostrophes. So that's that little bitty comma, or I don't know how to explain it, the little floater thing after the S. That's your apostrophe. And they do use a lot of common mistakes like that. So make sure that the apostrophe is showing possession, which for this case, it's the students. So they had to add it at the end. They want to know, do you know how to use those apostrophes? So look for that too. Okay. I'm going to keep going a little bit. I'm just going to show you a couple more. This is all sentence rewrites. And then you've got fill in the blanks where they put in different sentences, and then you have to fill it in with one of the questions. So for this one, I told you to plug in all of the answer choices. She blinked playing baseball at the recess, but she loved playing soccer. So now I'm going to go in and plug in all of those. I want you to pause the video. Y'all plug them in and figure out which one it would be. So if you plugged them all in, you realize that it was she doesn't like playing basketball at recess, but she loves playing soccer. Again, there's another one. Y'all can go back and pause and do these. If y'all have plenty of time. Okay, and there's lots of that. And then there's the text entry. So this is where it gets a little tricky because it wants you to click on the problem and then fix the problem. So if this was the test, I would click on the problem. It's a rainy day, so I brought my umbrella to school. I told you one of the things that they love to do is to exclude an apostrophe. So there is one error, and it's its. So look right there at the side, and it'll tell you. But they do love to include apostrophes, and I know I've seen several of these already this year. I love mine pet cat, Einstein. I adopted him from an animal shelter a year ago. Does that sound correct? No. How would I fix that? I love mine pet cat, Einstein. Oh, no. I love my. Okay, here's another one. Y'all can pause it and do it in class. There's the answer. There's another apostrophe. Make sure you're looking for those. And then really that's the only types you're going to come across today. Make sure that you read the directions. You only have 4 essays. So you need to make sure that every single time you are answering all 10 of those sentences, answer the dots and why, and then give a personal example. Make it personal. Answer the dots and why, and then make it personal. Tell me a story. And you're going to do fine, okay? All right, guys, I believe in you. Y'all test well and be good for Miss Cabrera.